Mike believes that on the last page of the last chapter on slide 27 that Woodhenge was for the living and Stonehenge was for the dead. That was his theory, okay? Who helped him come up with this theory? Ram Salonina, exactly. All right, so let's see. This starts on page 31 of your book. 28, 29, yeah. If you're at home and you haven't updated, update slide 28, 29. Okay. So we're on page 31 where we see this picture. We've looked at this picture before. Oh, I'm sorry, this is on 30. What's this picture of?
Him looking through a big head.
Who's him? Yeah. Nope. Ram's Madagascarian, so no.
What's that?
Look at the caption because this is a new person we've never met.
Richard
Atkinson. Okay. Now we already identified in our gallery walk the very beginning of this unit that this was an older picture. Have a picture of this man looking through what we decided in the other class is a surveying machine. They use them also for archaeology. Background shows us that he's where? Stonehenge, yeah. And it says in the caption this was taken in 1958. So this is a new archaeologist that we have yet to meet, okay? All right, let's start reading Mike's decision, page 31. There was one big problem with the new theory linking Stonehenge to the Southern Circle. That's in Woodhenge. No one knew if they were from the same time period. That's a big problem. Today, we can be sure that Christopher Columbus did not fight in World War II because we can date his life in the war. But there are no records of Stonehenge, so we have to draw conclusions from the objects we find. When Mike and Ram Salonina proposed their theory, archaeologists were getting confusing dates at Stonehenge that did not fit with the little that was known about the age of the Southern Circle. This part of Mike's story opened my eyes. I realized I had been completely wrong to believe that the quest to unlock the secrets of the past ended before I was born. Just the opposite. In fact, the scientific tools that archaeologists use to date ancient artifacts were just developed in the 1940s and have only very recently become fine-tuned. We knew hardly anything about when, say, Stonehenge was built until 15 years ago. The timelines of ancient history in books were educated guesswork. So what's the problem they're finding right now? What's the problem they have?
They don't know
All right, they're getting conflicting time periods. So on our notes, I'd put 31. The Southern Circle, I'll capitalize it. Circle and Stonehenge have conflicting time periods, question mark. The Southern Circle and Stonehenge have conflicting time periods. In order for them to work together, they probably should be built around similar time periods, but they're having a hard time finding out. Mainly because the technology for it is just brand new, pretty much. And if you're at home, this video we're making is going in the video box up top. The Southern Circle and Stonehenge have conflicting time periods. They can't figure it out. 3-1.
Can we just do the thing that the SH on the Southern?
Now you can, yes. SH and then SC for Southern Circle if you'd like. I'll continue to do that. And because the technology is so new, they haven't been good at dating things until now. I mean, we're still not even very great at it, to be honest. Next page. 32. Let's look at this picture. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me what you see. Okay.
From the 1800s.
So it looks older. Good point. Looks like they're digging in an excavation site. Yep. I'll say not 1800s at all, but old.
in the back part, that
Yeah.
dude in the back, it looks like he's drawing out like a blueprint or something.
Okay, drawing. That could be the blueprint that we see, the grid system. We do see down here that there are some ropes or wires. Yes.
Looks like he's measuring how long it takes.
Measuring, maybe. What else? Sorry, y'all. Yawning. Okay, let's look at the caption to give us more insight. Now we're looking at Atkinson. He's our new archaeologist we have yet to learn about. Atkinson was a brilliant man and a skilled archaeologist who directed work at Stonehenge between 1950 and 1978. But while in this photo, he takes precise measurements with measuring tape. You were right, he's measuring. He chose not to write up and share his research with fellow scholars. So he did not publish in the publishing process at all. He didn't publish anything for people to read about. That's weird. Why might someone not do that? He didn't write about it.
They're not sure if that's what they're right.
I like that. Maybe he wasn't sure. What else? Why might someone not write about it? Okay. Now, he has journals, that's for sure. But he didn't publish anything for anyone to read about. That's
Maybe
weird.
He wasn't supposed to be there.
He was. I will give you that, but that is a fair assessment. I can understand why you would think that. Maybe he didn't think people would appreciate it or like it. Let's continue reading, okay? Those are all great ideas. That is one reason archaeologists today are carefully reviewing his work and to understand what he did and where he was right or wrong. Go back to your notes. Let's make a note about a picture. 3, 2. Hold on.
We're on chapter 6.
No, I've reviewed my notes for 7. Hold on. Right picture. Make sure you have the highlighting correct with what color you started with. Come on. Atkinson dug at Stonehenge from when to when. Now let me go back in. Dug at Stonehenge from 1950 to 1978, but never published findings. Never published findings. Never published findings. All right, I just messaged parents about your notes too. All right, they are still using his findings today.
Like,
They're still using his findings today. Now, what we mean by that are his field notes, his pictures, everything that he collected. But he never published it. Maybe he just wasn't done, but had to leave. He's not alive anymore.
what if he died during his time?
He didn't. He died after, but what if he thought he was going to go back? That's kind of what I think he thought. I think he thought he would finish and never did. That's my read on it. Sorry, for those of you at home, I'll pause the next time we're doing this so that you can just continue. So Atkinson dug there for a long time. 28 years, right? Yeah, 28 years. That's a long time. Never published his findings. We don't know why. But they're still using a lot of what he found to decode things. So not only are they doing their dig currently, but they're also looking at his 28 years of research and work to try to figure that out at the same time. Yes, it's not easy.
How did he die?
Just of old age. It'll talk to us a little bit about it in the book, but not in detail. All right, now let's read the passage. On 3-2, right above the picture. I think it's just going to describe a little more, okay? All right, everybody on page 32, scroll up to in the 1950s so you can read along with me. If you have your novel or your book with you, that's fine. In the 1950s, archaeologist Richard Atkinson had essentially sole control over the investigation of Stonehenge. He was the only one in control of it. In effect, the site belonged to him. He was exactly like the men I grew up reading about, elegant, wise gentlemen who knew all. Atkinson had dug near the Great Trilithon, the two largest stones with a third stone across the top that frame the sun on the longest and shortest days of the year. It's the picture that's on the front of your book. There, he discovered an important feature. Listen to what he said. There can be no doubt, he wrote, that he had found the ramp used to raise one of the stones into place. He had even recovered some of the tools used by the builders, antler picks, and in 1994, the year he died, those antlers became really important. So what did he say without a doubt he found?
The ramp that they used to put it up.
Yeah, the ramp and what else? What tools?
The
Yeah, which were what?
which were used to do them.
Yeah, what were they? What were they? Look, it's at the very bottom. What kind of picks?
Antlers.
Okay, now let's scroll. I'm scrolling over to the side so you can see this antler picture. In the Stone Age, they did not yet have metal to make their utensils with. That's why it's called the Stone Age. We don't have any metals yet, okay? In this time period, they used found items a lot, and an antler pick like this that was found at Durrington Wall, sit up and pay attention, please, is one of the things that they used to use. Now, are antlers necessarily that sturdy for a long time? No, they kind of go bad fast. So they used them rather quickly and then just discarded them and like left them laying around. So that's a really good thing that they could have used to date things, to figure out how old something was, okay? All right, so let's go back to our notes and let's make a note that Atkinson, hold on, we're still on 32. He put, there can be no doubt. I want you to make sure you have it written just like that. I'm just putting it right underneath my yellow. Hold on. There can be no doubt. Does that mean he is very assured that he is right?
I'm not done with the yellow part.
Sorry. That didn't work as well as I thought it would. Let me scroll in. There can be no doubt. Atkinson found the ramp and antler picks to build Stonehenge. That's what he thinks. There can be no doubt. He said, this is real. These were used for sure. That's what he thinks. Bless you. Bless you.
Who was that? Mickey Mouse?
No one cares. Shh. Y'all are on video right now. There can be no doubt Atkinson found the ramp and antler picks used to build Stonehenge. Not necessarily true, but that's what he thinks.
And like to dig or something?
Yeah, to dig, to do a lot of things with.
With
Mhm.
the antlers?
Yeah.
Mama, it's really valuable.
They didn't used to be as valuable. So Atkinson believes that he is right about these antler picks. He says he found them and they were used to build Stonehenge. Okay. Now it says in 1994, these antlers become very important. We're going to find out why. Scroll over to the next page. We're not going to look at the green yet. We're going to look at the picture of the antler pick. All right. The ancient people who set up the stones did not know how to work with metals such as bronze or iron. So in order to dig a hole, they used the sharp antlers sheds by the local red deer. Sometimes they left bits of antler behind. Those pieces of antlers are real archaeological treasures because they can be dated. Any type of bone is easily dated, okay? We can be sure when a person used the antler picks become too brittle to dig after a few years, so you're only useful as digging tools for a short while after being shed. So radiocarbon dating in antlers give a precise date for when it was used as a tool. The antlers from Atkinson's ramp dated somewhere between 24 to 2100 BC. But antlers used in raising two of the older or other stones were clearly older, from around 26 to 2500 BC. They simply didn't make sense. So we've got two conflicting antler dates here. Eyes on your books, please. Why would ancient people have done the backbreaking work of setting up a circle of large stones, linking one another with lintels held in place by mortise and tenon joints, only to take it apart in order to add the most important stone centuries later? I'm going to show you what they mean by that. Wouldn't the builders have raised the stones in the center and then surrounded them with the circle? Here's what they mean. Stonehenge complete.
We're not trying to go on boxes like that.
Irrelevant. Shh. All right, here's what they mean. They mean that by the way it was dated, meaning if his antler pick theory is true, they would have constructed the outside wall first, a few hundred years before. Then they would have put the big stones in the center. Does that even make sense?
No.
Look at this picture. Could they have even done that?
No.
No. So right now, as is from what we've read, it does not make sense for those antlers to be dated the way that Atkinson dated them. It would make no sense for them to construct the outside wall, then have to take it down hundreds of years later to do the interior wall, okay?
How did it take that many pictures to put up the stone?
They're extremely heavy, okay? All right. So this is going to be a bad theory. Let me copy and paste it. So let's put 33. Antler picks are great finds. It's important to note. Antler picks are great finds because they can be dated. Hold on. Antler picks are great finds because they can be dated. This is on 3-3. But the antler dating does not match. The outside circle would be older. So I put bad theory. So this theory that he's created does not fit. This is a bad theory. Sorry, I paused. We're having a discussion about whether antlers were even used in the first place to lift these together. Probably not. We're not sure. Some people think that in the previous picture I showed y'all that they used rope with lots of people. We don't know. All right, let's read.
I know which one are old and that one are good.
Look up top at the carbon dating box. These people are students. This is one of the opportunities I was talking to you about at the beginning of the unit, how some people can volunteer for these types of things. These are students, and they look younger, honestly, that are volunteering. All right, hundreds of student volunteers have helped with the Riverside team. Here they sort through finds and put aside any materials that can be tested to date a site. Anything that is alive absorbs carbon. We all absorb carbon, and carbon atoms come in various forms called isotopes. Isotopes are the same basic elements, but with a difference in the atomic structure. They have more or fewer neutrons. Most of the carbon we take in has 12 neutrons. Some have 14. When an organism dies, the carbon-14 begins to decay, to lose its extra neutron. We know how long it takes for all the carbon-14 to fade away, about 40,000 years. It's a long time. So by measuring the amount of carbon-14 left within ancient bones and antlers, scientists can work out when the person or animal was alive. They cannot pinpoint exact year, but we do know within about 200 to 150 years or less. When samples can be taken from successive layers of soil, it's possible to carry out statistical analysis to improve the accuracy within the decades. So what they're saying is, find one piece of antler and date it, your date could be really wrong. But you found 30 pieces of antler throughout the soil layers, you can date all of them and then average or compare them to each other to find a general date, okay? Carbon dating is used a lot. So we're going to highlight this picture phrase. Hold on. I put box. It's in the green box, but I'm going to highlight it too. Hold on. Goodness gracious. What? Yeah. Oops. Box. Carbon-14 dating can get 150 to 200 years dated. Carbon-14 dating can get 150 to 200 years dated. They can get pretty close to being right. What? We know. We all have clocks. Shh. This is how they date most things in archaeological finds. They're not that great, though. Like it said, if you've got more of the same object to date, that's the best bet. Because by itself, it's not that accurate. It just isn't. And I'm going to highlight it. We'll see. All right, last page, I believe. Last 2 pages. All right, here we go. We're on 34 right now. I think we'll do both of them together. No one could answer that question, and while there are no precise dates for the Southern Circle, the available evidence put the timbers closer to 2,500 than 2,100. As much as 400 years off from the days when the solstice sunlight would have split the stones for the Great Trilithon. So they're 400 years off on their dates. That's not normal. Mike and Ramselinina had an interesting theory that simply didn't match the accepted dates of Stonehenge. Year after year went by. So years after they published their theory, no one talked about it. Mike and Karen, that's his wife, returned to work in Madagascar. No one stepped forward either to prove Mike wrong or to resolve the seeming contradiction of the Stonehenge timeline. So no one said anything. They just didn't do anything. Hold on, let me make sure I'm on. Yeah, okay. Hold on. All right, we're good. So it was just left, pretty much. And then Mike and his wife and Ram went back to Madagascar, so no one said anything. In 2002, Mike took fellow archaeologist Colin Richards to Durrington Walls. That's where the Southern Circle is. Together, they hatched a plan. They would gather a team of archaeologists they had known since they were students together, call themselves the Riverside Project, and tackle the mysteries of Stonehenge. But Mike was worried. The authorities responsible for the area see their mission as protecting England's heritage, preserving as much of the landscape as possible. So why would they ever agree to let a newcomer dig at the most famous site in England? Who would agree to fund a project that turned accepted ideas upside down? Who did he think he was? Next slide or page. Here's a picture of Colin in the overalls and Mike digging again. Nope, different Colin. And then they've worked together on a lot of digs. They're digging at Stonehenge here. Every day was nerve-wracking. When the officials who gave out permits to dig seemed interested in Mike's work, he could not find money. So people were interested, then he couldn't find the money to do it. Indeed, his applications for funding were turned down. His project was called too speculative, meaning didn't have enough proof. Yet when he caught the ear of sponsors, the officials hesitated. Nobody wanted to budge. Finally, Mike got word that he could start a tiny dig in a spot no one thought important. The project could crack the earth, but the real test was in the soil. They would find some evidence to back Mike and Ramselinina's idea, or they would have to close up shop and go home. So we've got a problem here. Remember, unhighlight. Pages 34 through 35. Okay, Mike and Colin wanted to dig at Stonehenge, but no one would give them the permits or the money. But for a small unimportant area, end quote. Mike and Colin wanted to dig at Stonehenge, but no one would give them the permits or the money but for a small, unimportant area. All right, those of you at home, we're going to finish this chapter and then you will start chapter 7.